So we will talk about K to 12 pedagogies. This is under 3.2 Teaching Standards and Pedagogies. In this session, we'll be talking about K to 12 pedagogies, and hopefully after this, we'll be able to allow the participants to apply the different pedagogical principles that will enhance the teaching of the 21st century skills. Basically, we wanted our learners to be prepared, no, for what is coming in the future. And what is coming in the future is actually it's a great transformation that is happening. At the economic perspective, this is usually what they call the Industrial Revolution 4.0. We are now in the third industrial revolution with the onset of technology like the computer, the internet. But what is coming right now, near our doorstep, what is entering now is Industrial Revolution 4.0, and this is not a very that is a very important topic, or that is a very important discussion. I was invited as one of the speakers, no, when I shared I was the keynote speaker when we had this international training there with the teachers in Cambodia, and I was tasked to talk about the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and this is very much related to our topics now, and we wanted to prepare our learners for what change is about to come. In order to do this, we'll be try to revisit the different pedagogical principles. Remember, as a school head, you are an instructional leader. In short, you are the best teacher in your school. No, you are the expert in terms of teaching, and that's why you were chosen as the principal. And because of that, you need to be equipped with this knowledge, because sometimes we tend to be very focused and specific to management already, and most of all, MOOE liquidation. Muratag muratag mabuang aning MOE. It's really something very almost all of our time is devoted to MOE, but to tell you honestly, it's only a very small portion. Administrative task is only a very small portion of supposed to be the focus of your work. Although sometimes we are tentative, no, of delegating it to others, because it entails our name and reputation, and there is always a memorandum. There will be a memo issued if we don't submit, no, after the fifth week of the next month. So we really need to make sure that it's well spent, at the same time it's properly liquidated. Okay. Then we'll identify and discuss different constructivist approaches that will enhance teaching of the 21st century. Then we will also talk about how to simulate a micro teaching that concretizes the K to 12 pedagogies. Although we'll not be simulating that, we'll be talking about micro teaching that concretizes the K to 12 pedagogies. Welcome, lifelong learners. Welcome to my channel, Learning with Doc Lebs, where we learn about research, education, technology, and the law. I am Doc Lebs. I am an educational leader, researcher, and law enthusiast. If you wish to grow as an educator, leader, researcher, and as a person, this channel is for you. Start your journey of lifelong learning by clicking subscribe, or if you like exclusive videos of my trainings and webinars in the international and national arena, click join for more specialized content. Remember, learning is fun, and making it lifelong is key to a fulfilling life. Start now by clicking subscribe or join. Okay, let's try to exercise this one. In your head na lang, we cannot really do any groupings, but you try to check if you agree with the statement or not. The mind is a tabula rasa, a blank sheet of paper. Do you agree or disagree? Okay. So the answer to that is tang tadadang. What's the answer to this? Okay, well, give you time to think. The answer is, ako personally, I disagree with this, because the mind is not purely tabula rasa. No, this blank sheet concept is now a abandoned concept. No, before it was a known, accepted concept, especially in when we had our traditional form of the education. But right now, in the modern way of educating our learners, we don't think of our learners that way. No, our learners, even if how slow they know how they are genius in specific things. That's why there is a multiple intelligence theory by Howard Gardner. and many other theories, no, talking about prior knowledge. So be aware that the tabula rasa concept doesn't exist anymore. Our learners have prior concept, prior learners that they can anchor their learners with, and that's why you need to relate it with their prior knowledge. You need to understand what they know so that you can enter and you can enhance whatever learning they have. Okay? Same concept of what we are doing here. We wanted you to do a pre-test because we wanted you to check, no? We want to check how much you already know. Okay? Then we also talk about this one. Learners construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on them. Again, ha? Learners construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on them. Go. Think. Okay. Disagree or agree? Okay. So the answer to this is, what is it? The answer is agree. No? Learners construct their own understanding. So that is where the concept of constructivism comes from. No, we all know that our learners are capable of constructing their own knowledge, okay, out from all these things. So basically, it allows them to create their own set of knowledge for certain things. And if we just allow constructivism to, if we really pursue constructivism, the idea here is we wanted to create a learner who is capable of creating his own knowledge. No, he is capable of innovating. He is capable of even correcting our current knowledge. That is how science is actually built. We wanted our learners to become people who can critic and criticize whatever we have. But honestly, our culture runs contrary to this, no? As early as they are very young, we don't allow our child to correct us because it seems, no, it seems very disrespectful. But in just a setting of a science class, ako as a teacher before, I am a science teacher. I sometimes do intentional wrong discussion. No, I usually do that with my learners. And then I tell them, "Are you sure?" And then later on they will say, no, there's an assumption sometimes because they really have this great respect for you and they know that you have taught them a lot, and then it seems like everything you say is true, and then they forget about critical thinking. Okay? So you wanted to test that because that's part of science process skills. No, for us science teacher, that is important. We want them to be very very keen, very critical in how they think and accept ideas. Okay, so that's part of science process has skills. Okay, and I think in also in life, no, that's the reason why people like Simon Levive. Have you heard of Simon Levive and the Anna woman, or reinventing Anna? These people who are doing this fraud thing and putting people, no, in a position wherein they will lose thousands of dollars because they are very good at convincing them. So uh, people sometimes are blinded by their emotions, by their love for that person, and they end up being abused, no, and being victims of fraud. Okay, so things like that. Critical thinking is important, and we want our learners also to construct their own ideas. No, we have doctoral graduates here, diba? PhDs, EDDs. The assumption when you are a PhD or you are an EDD is that you have contributed, no, a new theory idea, no, that made you deserve that EDD, that PhD that you have. Okay, usually here as in Cebu Normal University, when you are a PhD holder, you have created a theory, and defended it in front of accredited PhD holders also in SHED. Okay, so that's the thing. Let's have another one. Teachers should value the pursuit of student questions and interests. What do you think? All right. The answer is agree. Okay. So we want our learners to ask questions and allow them to look at their interest, because just to share to you know, every person has strengths, no? For instance, in my case, I would just give myself as an example. For others, they might they might find it very difficult to talk, no? To talk, to give a talk or to share orally what they have learned. But for me as a person, I'm very comfortable with that, no, rather than writing it down. So others are not like that. Their strength is um, they are not good in talking, but they are very good in writing. Okay, so each one of us has a very different level of interest, different kinds of talents, no. And we need, as a teacher, we need to cultivate all those strengths, because if you find your strength and you try to cultivate that, then you'll be able to help, no, find your purpose in life. They call it a cross point between what you are passionate of and what you are good at and what the people need, no. That is something that you can pursue to help other people. Honestly, I've been doing my best, no, despite my schedule, to really help teachers, no. For me, that's an important that's important for me. Okay, so um sharing a part of you to the world is an advocacy that we need, do want to pursue. Then as a teacher, you want your all your learners to realize their full potential. Okay? Ako personally, I can't say that I have realized my full potential yet. I still have a lot of things that I wanted to achieve. But what is important for me is I wanted to show to the teachers that the path to being a good teacher is continuous improvement. No, that's why I don't stop going to school. No, I want to show to them that if you are a teacher, then you should not stop improving, because if you stop improving, you stop the development and your interest towards education. Okay, so but there are many ways to improve. No, you can attend classes like this, sessions like this. You can listen to sessions like this, or attend seminars and webinars for you to really pursue learning. Right. So next, learners' new information is constructed from prior knowledge or experience. Agree or disagree? Okay. So this is the opposite of the tabula rasa concept. Okay, so therefore this is agree. Learners' new information is constructed from prior knowledge or experience. So they tend to construct their own knowledge out from that by relating it with the new knowledge that you have. So that's why in order for you to learn something, most of the time you wanted to relate it with your previous topic, previous knowledge that you have. But you know, there's a but on this, because there's another theory in psychology that tells us that there is also a part in your brain called the subconscious mind. No? Have you heard of this? No? I'm very interested in this. In fact, when I was a high school student, I always go to the library, but I don't read the books that is given by the teachers. I tend to read the books about psychology and how the human mind works. So according to this theory, we have two kinds of there are two parts in our brain, the conscious and the subconscious part. And the subconscious even contains, no, all the, it has a perfect memory. No, and I've tried really cultivating my subconscious mind, no, just to share to you. There are times that I know things just by gut feeling, na I know it will happen. So as a leader, for you, you're a principal, you need also to cultivate your your gut feeling, no, your subconscious mind. They say that the subconscious mind is a perfect memory. It is aware of all things. Even if you're sleeping, there were people, no, subjected to brain scan when they were sleeping. Do you ever wonder why we feel very energized when we are sleeping? Well, in fact, our brain is very busy when we are sleeping. No, when you sleep, your brain tends to have more activity than rather than when you are awake. Okay, and there are many cases wherein the person were able to, even if they were sleeping, they were able to defend themselves because their subconscious mind were very active. No, they can tell that somebody is about to stab them. You know, all these things. Even if you are not consciously aware of it, your body is able to detect, no, the incoming danger. Another thing is very simple illustration of your subconscious mind. You touch a hot pot. Try to touch a hot pot, and then you don't even know that it's hot yet, but your hand automatically automatically ejects from that touch point, okay, that you had with the hot pot. So therefore, you are subconsciously, you the subconscious mind is saving you. And there are many times also that I've experienced that, like, you try this. No, you don't use alarm clock. Just just tell your subconscious mind, okay, wake me up at exactly 4 o'clock in our clock here. Okay? And please wake me up at 4 o'clock. You try that tonight, ha? Okay? And then tonight, I tell you, you will, early morning tomorrow, you will wake up at exactly 4 o'clock. Just try that, no? Just increasing the level of communication between your conscious and subconscious mind. Okay, so we still have a topic to talk about, but I'm just telling you that learners, our brain has two parts, and sometimes as a leader, you need to cultivate that part, okay, the subconscious, because it talks about gut feeling, your ability to predict things, no? That's a recognized part in your brain in psychology, okay? So in the constructivist classroom, both teacher and the students think of knowledge as inert factoids. Okay? What is inert? Okay. Sige. Okay. So what do you think? Do you agree? Okay. So let's define what is inert. So there are things here, no? Okay. So inert means lacking the ability to move, no? So she lay inert in her bed, no? Lacking vigor, no? And when you say factoids, it means uh, it is a pronoun noun for fact or information. Okay, so you can say facts or factoids. Okay, an assumption or speculation that is reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact. Okay, so that's a factoid. Okay, so do you agree or disagree to that? Okay, the answer is disagree. Okay, because as we all know, knowledge is an evolving dynamic thing. No, we wanted knowledge to evolve. No, whatever I'm teaching now actually will change. No, even few months from now, it will not be true. Okay, that's why when we had our SHDP, we need to integrate already changes in the competencies for school heads, because before it's the NCBSSH, National Competency Standards for School Heads. This time is Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. So therefore, my dear principals, knowledge is something evolving, and as teachers do it in a constructivist classroom, they recognize that knowledge is dynamic and it will change. Now, who are you to say that the answer of the learner is wrong if that's the case? Okay, so it might be that uh, I've experienced that with my professor. No, I'm still going to school now. I had this very good professor who always say, maybe, perhaps, because then there's an argument, and then that teacher or professor would encourage me to counter the argument, because we wanted to prove the truth out from this interaction. So this is that is an example of a constructivist approach of doing things. We wanted our teachers, our learners to think, and we wanted them to become very reflective to the point that they'll be able to dynamically change the knowledge that we have. We want it to evolve. We don't want these people to become passive, no, receivers of knowledge. Social facts are essence of constructivism. Agree or disagree? Okay. The answer is agree. All right. So it's very important that you consider social facts in constructivism, because one of the major beliefs in constructivism is we wanted interaction, no, human interaction. The main assumption is that this is one of the things that I don't fully agree with constructivism. However, okay, my personal opinion lang, but in terms of constructivism, then they really consider social facts. But there are people who are, I may be wrong with this, but there are people who learn best when they are alone. No, that's also something that we need to consider, because constructivism per se, I'm not saying it should be something that you accept wholly. It's still a theory. No, it's a theory that is known to work. No, but there are certain things in the theory that might change a few years from now. According to the theory, we are all social beings and we need social interaction in order for us to learn. Or I may be wrong with this, but I personally I learn best when I do it on my own. Okay, but siguro there is also a need for social interaction. I might not have just noticed it, but the thing is, by default, it is assumed that it is best to really have social interaction when we learn. We only learn best when we learn through each other. That is the one of the major concepts found in constructivism. Okay? So therefore, what is our legal basis no in looking at how should we deliver curriculum? Now, I've been I've been sitting in a lot of research presentation as a PhD graduate of CNU. I've been part of many panelists. No, I've been a panelist for science majors presenting their research. And one of the common mistakes for them is that they tend to compare no their new strategy with the traditional. Now, I always tell them that actually the traditional method is never non-extant already because by virtue of RA 10533, we wanted the curriculum to be learner-centered, inclusive, and developmentally appropriate. We want it to be relevant, responsive, research-based, be culture-sensitive, be contextualized and global, and use pedagogical approaches that are constructivist. No, I colored that red. Inquiry-based, reflective, collaborative, and integrative. That is according to RA 10533, Section 5. No? So if you say in your research na I will compare it with the traditional method, why would you compare it with the traditional method? Well, in fact, by law or by default, it is not existent already. So their assumption is that the system that we're having is still the traditional method. In the Department of Education, we don't employ that anymore. We employ the constructivist. Now, in reality, it could be that in reality, they're still applying the traditional method. But when you are anchoring your research to a particular comparison, it is assumed that the people are following the law. So you can have another research for that. You can have an evaluative study, no, wherein you compare what is stated in the law and what is done in reality. So you will be comparing already. But by virtue of the law given to us and mandated to us, no, the by the law in the Philippines, no, you are required, no, as a teacher, to do it in a constructivist way, in an inquiry-based way, in a reflective, collaborative, and integrative way. Okay, so you should adhere to the MTBMLE. No, very common misconception with MTBMLE. No, let me just share. I've been a trainer on this. No, and if you look at the curriculum, never will you say no that you will be pushing for the learners to learn a particular language, because here in parts of here in Cebu, sometimes there are materials no given to MTB MLE, and they are required to really get the pure meaning of the pure uh, mother tongue for the different colors, and they end up to become a language subject. Well, in fact, it's not a language subject. It is a communication subject. Okay? So you only allow the learners to really talk, no, whatever they want to use, no, in order for you to bridge from the new language, which is the English, which we are introducing to our learners. Okay? So if their mother tongue, like I think you have heard my daughter talking. So I think when she was born, her mother tongue was really Bisaya. But my son, my first son, my eldest son, his mother tongue is really English. So when he talks in Bisaya, he talks like a Japanese person. So they are different from uh, for instance, they will be called to a classroom. We could never force the child to talk in Bisaya if he is not comfortable with it. Okay, although I really wanted my child to become multilingual, so they are exposed to both languages. Okay, so the thing is, that is a very common misconception among us. The problem is rooted on the materials being used. They forgot that the major thing that you need to look into is not the material; it is the curriculum guide. And when you look at the curriculum guide, you can peruse it with me. Just look at it. In the first part, it talks about the family, talks about you let the child talk about the family, and um, there's no competency telling the child to learn about the different the actual native language equivalent of every word, no. So there's no competency for that. And according to RA 10533, shall use the spiral progression approach to ensure mastery of knowledge and skills after each level. And it shall be flexible, no? Flexible, not just flexible for anything under the sun. It is flexible for the sake of the learners. We wanted our learners to really improve in whatever they do. Okay? So we have here construction of knowledge, no? When we talk about constructivism, we talk about the learner's ability to create no prior knowledge. So no, no, to create their own knowledge out from their prior knowledge. And they need to have access to resources in order for them to really create their own knowledge. And they need to actively learn. It's not something that they learn from out from the blue. They have to be interactive. No, you want our learners to interact. You hopefully wanted them to create and manipulate and debate knowledge and shape the knowledge that they will be acquiring based on their the debate, no, the manipulation that they have. Process, not product. So learners systematically gather and evaluate information. We wanted our learners to appreciate the process of learning. Okay, one of the main concepts of Industrial Revolution 4.0 is that whatever the skills that we have right now will become obsolete. No, so we wanted our learners to be able to create and learn a specific skill as they wanted it to be. Okay, so in if that time will come wherein industrial revolution will be in full blast, then you won't be able to apply your skills anymore. As a result, you will have no jobs. But those who can survive this one are those who are capable of acquiring new skills at will. So we want our learners to appreciate and to love learning. No, the process of learning. Okay? So we are not tired. Ako, I when I was a teacher, I always let them discover the main concept or the key concept. I don't give them and feed them the key concept. Okay? I let them derive it from from the clues that I provide. Okay? So multiple perspectives. So collaboration allowing learners to share and reconcile present dissonant perspectives or strategies and find synergistic solutions. So what do you mean by dissonant? Now, there are concepts that are really countering each other. No, it seems like those perspectives don't agree with each other, but we wanted our learners to collaborate and talk about it. No, not having that fear to really express their ideas and try to look for ways to solve that level of dissonance that they find. So we want learners to become very eloquent when they argue. We want them to be able to express. But honestly, when you look at our classrooms, no, it's the teacher doing all the talking, and we can see our learners really interacting and giving their thoughts. No, ako here because we are in a pandemic, no, I would want, no, I really love to hear from your thoughts, no. So I really appreciate those who are giving their comments, their thoughts and ideas in the chat box. So in that sense, we there's a need for us, no, to look at how best can we learn and how best can our learners interact. Okay, the only drawback to this is that it takes time. How many of you have experienced asking a question and then you will not be able to cover a lot of things because you keep on waiting for them to think about the correct answer? So that's the major drawback in constructivism, because you might be losing the time and you might not be covering a lot of things. In our case, we need to do it a little fast, because we will be covering a lot of things, and I can't wait for the thought processes to happen. But in the classroom, hopefully, no, with the onset of the milk, no, with the implementation of the milk, hopefully the teachers will have more time to ask delving questions and allow the learners to really discover the key concept instead of them giving them the key concept, so because there's no time anymore. Okay, so therefore we see here that in traditional curriculum begins with a part of the whole emphasizing the basic skills. Okay, so that's the traditional way. No, the curriculum begins with the part of the whole, emphasizing the basic skills. But in constructivism, curriculum emphasizes big concepts, beginning with the whole and expanding to include the parts. Okay, so there are big concepts here, no, and then beginning with the whole and expanding to include the different parts. So that's what constructivism is. Okay. Learning is based on repetition. So that's the traditional. And in constructivism is learning is interactive. How many times do we remember those people who are talking, no, just repeating the word again and again, memorizing it without even thinking what's the meaning? But in constructivism, we want it to be interactive. We want them to manipulate knowledge, no, and understand why it is happening. Then traditional students work primarily alone, while in constructivism, students work primarily in groups, because it is best, according to them, it is best to learn together with the group. And then traditional, we have assessment and testing. Then in constructivism, assessment dash observation, peer evaluation, and testing. So that's the difference. No, in constructivism, there's assessment, but there is peer and self-evaluation. No, you try to observe. No, we don't usually do the test in pure constructivist approach. What we really look at is assessment and observation purely. No, there's no sense of looking at how much you have learned. No, we don't do that in pure constructivism. We just observe ourselves. No, in what part do we feel like we don't get so engaged, we feel weak in terms of learning new concepts and ideas. No, so that's what we do in constructivism. Then we have approaches, teaching models that promote constructivism. We have inquiry based, wherein we allow the learners to describe the ideas that there are concepts, and we allow them to discover it on their own. So in inquiry based, we give them a situation or an environment where they can learn, and then just give them problems perhaps that they can explore, and then they can do it. But when you say collaborative, you can integrate that with inquiry based. They can do it together with the group, and there is social interaction. This integrative, when you say integrative, it's removing the boundaries between the subjects. Like math, science, English, we are very major specific. No, English is, when you look at research, it's multidisciplinary. You need to know how to speak in English so that you can disseminate it in research presentation and write it properly in your paper. You should be able to know mathematics, because you need to present your statistics, the statistical tools that you're using. It's integrative. It doesn't matter what subject it is. Reflective means you should be able to reflect fully how you can improve and love the learning process. Okay, so we want our learners to become people who are experts in understanding how they learn best. So, in order for us to do this, we want a higher level of metacognition, wherein they understand, I learn best when I do this. I learn best when I do this. Personally, I usually reflect on the best way I learn. That's why I always look for strategies for me to continue learning, even if I'm already done with school, etc. Okay, so we have problem-based learning, approaches and teaching models, strategies that promote constructivism. So we have here problem-based learning, project-based learning. Now, so these are strategies that promote constructivism or teaching models. When you say problem-based learning, you actually provide a very clear situation for your learners to learn, and you give them that sense of independence to pursue how they should go about solving that particular problem. In project based, you give them a situation wherein they will be able to uh, profile that project for them, and we call that one project based learning. Okay, then we have explicit learning, no, allowing them to explicitly express their thoughts and ideas, and to manifest their learning through that. And we also have a differentiated instruction. I think we have heard of this. No, we can differentiate the way we deliver the instruction, differentiate how we do assessment, etc. But remember, differentiated instruction is different from um, differentiated delivery of instruction. That's actually different from each other. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, and we also have reciprocal questioning. Okay, so this is a sense of playing the devil's advocate. Okay, so in reciprocal questioning, we inspect the different sides of the story, no, in different aspects. We don't limit ourselves to one stand. Okay, so that's what we do there. Okay, we also allow debate. Now debate is logical, no, and then we have anchored instruction. We have mind maps. I usually use Xmind for this. I usually do this because I'm a very visual person, so I need what you call mind maps. Okay, then we also have the inquiry base. So let's talk about this. Students use inquiry methods to ask questions, investigate a topic, and a wide variety of resources to find solutions and answers. Okay, so there's a topic that we want them to be able to inquire. But remember, in this part, you need to the first part of inquiry based instruction is really to get their curiosity first. That's the first part. If you cannot fuel them with curiosity, then they will not be able to find the answers. So usually, when I did inquiry based instruction, I usually do a magic trick. No, I demonstrate a magic trick to my class, and then after that, I challenge them to find out how I did it. No, na this is what I usually do before, because that really triggers their curiosity, no, as teachers, as learners. So after that, I just leave them to really seek for means to answer questions, but I leave clues along the way, so they can do it collaboratively, no. And I tell you, no, if you are a very good teacher in terms of uh, arousing their curiosity, no, they will really try to finish it up to the end. No, that's where contextualization happens. No, uh, they wanted you wanted them to be very successful in finding the answers. So in short, you need to arouse their curiosity very well in the first part. Okay, but you need to provide clues along the way, depending on their level. Okay, so you develop useful problem solving skill, prepare learners to live in a world that is non-static, enables learners to cope with changes that will increase complexity throughout their lives, provide learners tools for continuing to learn. Because in this case, in inquiry based, there is a lot of sense of independence. So you just come in, you just observe them doing it, trying to solve your mystery. No, you start with a mystery, and then trying your best to help them solve that problem, but never telling them the answer to that problem. Okay, so limitations, levels of inquiry: to reinforce previously introduced idea, introduce learners to experience of conducting investigation. Students practice a specific inquiry such as collecting and recording data. So you allow them to do that. Structured inquiry, the question and procedure are still provided by the teacher. So there is also structured inquiry wherein you don't give that full independence to them, but you just, guide them. I tell you, no, if you have full independent inquiry, then it will really take time. I've tried this one. Especially no, if they don't know the answers. So personally, what I usually do in order for me to not waste a lot of time, I just do structured inquiry. So if you do it that way, then they'll be able to really get the answers on in time. But still, it takes more time than a common and the usual lecture type discussion. So students generate an explanation and supported by pieces of evidence they have collected. So again, you are providing clues. Then guided inquiry is higher level. Teacher provides students with only the research question, The students design the procedure to test their question and the resulting explanations. So open inquiry, this is the highest level of inquiry wherein there's the highest level of independence among the learners. No? So requires more scientific reasoning and greatest cognitive demand from students. So look at your students and try to apply it, no? The level of inquiry you're going to do. So problem, I see we have a graph here for level 1. Okay, so the problem here is given by the teacher. The structured inquiry, the solution is given by the student, and then guided inquiry is given by the in guided inquiry, the procedure is done by the student and solution by the student. Then for open inquiry, the problem is created by the student procedure, still procedure is under the student, then solution is under the student. So as you can see, there is a lot of independence, no, for the learners, no, for each level of inquiry. Now you base this one to the level of capacity of your learners. Just to share to you, when you look at the modular modality, honestly, it's the most equitable to all. But when you look at the modality itself, actually it's not for everyone. No, the modular approach is not for everyone. It requires a lot of independence and the ability to really comprehend the material. Okay, and especially for high school students where their parents don't usually help them with the modules because they think and they already know what to do, and sometimes it's a little bit more complicated that the parents could not even answer it. So in a sense, we should be aware of that. It's one of the main limitations of the Department of Education. So now modules is usually given to learners who are really a little bit advanced, no, and are capable of really independently learning, or with a little guidance from the parents will be able to work on it. Okay, so the 5E learning model of inquiry. So you start with engage, no, that's the first one. So in engage, again, this is the part wherein you arouse their curiosity. You can do a magic trick, you can give them a solution, a situational problem that needs to be solved, or a story that needs to be a mystery that needs to have answers with, and then you let them explore, then you let them explain, then out from their explanation let them elaborate by looking at how their solution fits, no, the answer to the problem that is presented in the first part, and then you let them evaluate, if their answer is correct. It's a cycle, no. And here's the explanation for each. No, in engage, the lesson mentally engages students with activity or question. It captures their interest. That this is what I'm talking about. You wanted to do a magic trick. You want them to be engaged. Opportunity for them to express what they know about the concept or skill being developed. So in explore, students carry out hand activities in which they explore the concept. So this is where they now independently look for ways to answer the mystery that you have presented in engage. Then in explain, only after students have explored the concept or skill does the teacher provide the concept and terms used by the students to develop explanations for the phenomena they have experienced. So allow them to explain, and then elaborate means applying it in a different context or situation. Okay, so this phase provides opportunities for students to apply what they have learned to new situations and to develop a deeper understanding of the concept or greater skill. Now, whatever it is that we're teaching the learners, we wanted them to become very, uh, in a sense, being capable of applying it in different situations. Remember, whatever you learn, you need to apply it to your life. You need to apply it to a different situation. If you are incapable of doing that, then useless. Everything is useless. Everything you have learned is useless. So that's why in inquiry based, we allow them to do that. Then evaluate, the final phase, provides an opportunity for students to review, reflect on their own learning. We wanted them to, what part do they learn best? What part do they miss? Etc. So in this case, this is where there is metacognition in a sense. We wanted them to really continuously reflect what went wrong, what did I do right, did I really learn something from it, or in a sense, you can also check them using a test and examination, okay, to check their understanding. So the constructivist classroom relies heavily on collaboration among students. Students learn about learning not only from themselves but also from their peers. So their social learning. So there are key benefits. No, it promotes interdependence. Then we are social beings. No matter what we do, we always deal with with our with the people around us. So encourages learners' responsibility for learning, encourages individual accountability as part of the group. We're in at work. We need to become a person who is capable of working in a team. So reinforces learning for individuals through peer teaching. So at the same time, we're teaching them social skills, no, so that they'll be able to interact properly. So we call that one EQ, no. So here we see learners developing their leadership skills, their ability to contribute, and their, because honestly, when they go to the work in the future, when they work or they become leaders, they become CEOs or businessmen, they also need these social skills with them. Okay, so those are the things that they can do. No, develop communication skills, increase group cohesion, gives opportunity for teachers to observe and assess the learning during the group activity. When I was a teacher before, I also allowed them to rate themselves, no, as part of the team. That the team will rate the leader will rate each one of them. So it becomes a two-way process, in a sense that will allow them to work together better as a team. Okay. So strategies that you can do, we can do think, discuss, act, reflect. Hopefully there will be a limited face to face. No, they can actually do this already. No, think, pair, share, project management, computer mediated collaboration. No, computer mediated collaboration is can be done. No, in the midst of the pandemic, you can have live conferencing using Zoom or etc. Online collaborative learning, web based collaborative writing. What is integrative learning? So this is linked to a classical tradition of educating the whole person, encouraging breadth of outlook, a capacity to see connections, and hence the ability to make fundamental decisions and judgments. So we want our learners to be able to integrate what they learn to life, to different kinds and areas of subject areas, because in life there's no subject areas anymore. You don't divide it to science, math, etc. It's all one connected thing called life. Okay, so we want our learners to be prepared to that. So this approach to teaching and learning is necessary in today's world where technology and globalization transform knowledge practices in all disciplines and professions. Students control their own learning process and they lead the way by reflecting on their experiences. They become experts of their own learning through this process. Okay, so problem-based learning. No, you can also use PBL. I've tried this one before, and it's a very good strategy. It's a learning method which involves student-centered learning in small groups, lead by a teacher rather than uh, teaching using traditional lecture or teaching. It's more like inquiry based, but it's problem based. No, motivation to learn is self-imposed. Building of new knowledge on existing one. Integration and application of knowledge. Problem solving. Wider coverage of the topic. No, development of other skills like inquiry, critical appraisal, and we wanted the person to become a lifelong learner. So those are advantages of the PBL. So you can explore the issues, discuss the situation and gather information, develop and write the problem statement, list out possible solutions. So it's like you are given this situation and then you allow the child to list down the issues here. What are the issues? And what are the possible situation, and you try to gather information. Then that's where they write their problem statement and then they try to craft their own possible solutions. Okay, after doing this, they identify the solution or solutions, then at least one evidence to support the solution. So it's like you're allowing the child to become a person who is capable of solving a particular problem. And then identify specific steps that needs to be done to achieve the solution, present it to the class, submit it to the teacher, monitor the implementation and review the group's performance. So it's like really you give that situation to them and allow them to solve the situation from start to finish. So I have a template here. So you can have a situation, a problem statement, and just let them fill this up along the way. Possible solutions, solution, evidence to support the solution, specific steps that needs to be done to achieve the solution, then work plan with timeliness, right? So project-based learning, a systematic teaching method that engages students in learning essential knowledge. So A while ago, it's problem-based, but this time, this one is project. Extended student influence inquiry process, structured around complex, authentic questions and carefully designed products and tasks. So this is where they craft their own product or design their own specific task, no, as a project. Okay, make school more engaging for students. No, imagine if you can share the problems in your school to your learners, and it becomes a project-based learning. You allow them to look for solutions for problems that is commonly found in your school. Then these learners will be able to make no contribute to the school's current improvement. So make school more engaging for students, improves their learning, builds success for college, help address standards, provide opportunities for students to use technology, makes teaching more enjoyable and rewarding, connects students and schools with communities and the real world, and promotes educational equity. So how does project-based learning work? So this is why what we do. We question what's the problem, what's the reason behind this. And then you plan a solution. Okay, then you schedule. Now, based on your plan, you try to schedule the steps that you need to do in order to. What is your project? So you schedule it, and then you monitor the way you assist it, monitor how you implement it, and then assess how the project is going, and then you evaluate if it's working or not. So that's a form of project-based learning. Explicit teaching, an instructional strategy that is direct, engaging, and success-oriented, used by teachers to assist their learners to succeed in learning, mastery, and application of vital skills. Okay, so these are the three components. So you try to modeling, guided or directed practice. Then we have independent practice. So I do, we do, you do. Okay, so modeling is I do. So you try to share, no? This is how we do it. So that's why it's explicit, no? Want to be clear as to how you have to do it. Then you let them practice it by using guided or direct practice. So you try to let them do it on their own, but you are there. No, you will say, "Oops, that's not the proper way to do it." Okay, and then after that, after doing some repetitions with your guided practice, finally you do it without saying a word. So that will be they will become independent finally. So this is an example of explicit practice. Now it's applicable to a lot of things. For example, to dancing. We usually do this in dancing, di ba? Um, Usually we illustrate, we model. This is how you dance, and then while you are dancing, they will dance with you. So you are doing the guided or directed practice, and then finally in the last part, you just let them dance on their own. Okay, so this is what is happening, no, in explicit teaching. So the student's responsibility, no, I do it. So focus on the lesson. So then guided instruction, you also do it a little bit, but you allow learners to start doing it now. So your responsibility becomes narrower, and independent. Your responsibility becomes close to zero, and you just allow them to do it on their own. Okay, so this is called explicit. Differentiated instruction, this is given by DepED Order 72, 2009, asserting the critical role of differentiated instruction, increasing the school participation rate of children. Okay, so what we do, I think we are all experts in differentiated instruction. It keeps coming back again and again, but just the purpose of this is to address the diversity of our learners in today's classroom. So we are being sensitive. So what do we do in differentiated instructions? It's a teacher's response to learners' needs. We need to be aware of their current situation. So you need to be you need to do profiling. So you need to understand, no, these are their strengths, their weaknesses. Then you do flexible grouping. You try to arrange tasks based on their strengths and weaknesses, and then you can differentiate, no, three things. You can differentiate the content, the process, and the product. However, take note, no, that you should not differentiate the competency. No, there's only it's only the content, but the skill is still standard. Okay, take note of that, ha, because that's the common mistake nga. Okay, because this is the situation, so perhaps I will compromise the quality na lang for the sake of that. There's no differentiation in the standard. It's still the same, but the content, which is which is the things that we talk about, and the knowledge, no, but the skill that they will be acquiring is the same, no, the process into how to do it, no. Some of you are good in saying it, some of you are good in writing it. So will it be different if they say it or they write it? Of course not, no. We try to recognize, no, the same level of recognition to those who can write it well and to those who can speak it well. Then according to students, no, we can also differentiate using that in terms of their readiness, their interest, and their learning profile. Okay, so benefits of differentiated instruction classroom. Teachers can differentiate content, process, and product according to the students' readiness, interest, learning profile to increase growth, motivation, and efficiency. But again, do not differentiate the competency that you have. Okay, so strategies for differentiation, you can have tiered lessons. Okay, meaning at this level, you can have this lesson if you like. Okay, you have tier 2, tier 3. Okay, flexible grouping. No, you try to group them again, regroup them based on their strengths and weaknesses. You can have you can have think tacto. Okay, multiple intelligence options, like they can present it using a song, a poem, or whatever it is that they usually are comfortable with. Then do not differentiate their scores out because of their delivery of their knowledge, no. You try to respect all their differences. Then graphic organizers, response exit cards, multiple texts. Okay, so there are lower prep strategies that you can use, like reading and study buddies, anchor activities, choices of books, interest surveys, multiple levels of questioning. Okay, so you can also use ICT to enhance constructivism. Can do this by developing programs, computer-assisted instruction, drills, and tutorials. Okay, so by using social networking sites, no, there are a lot of them. Okay, so digital skills every teacher should have. Take note of this, huh? Okay, so you should be able to, you can again, I'll be giving you a copy of this PowerPoint, but I'll be posting it in my YouTube channel. So we will be sharing it in the drive, no, where we can see the videos. But again, when you look at this, these are the things that a teacher should learn. No, all these things. Like for instance, you need to learn how to edit digital audio, video, and image content, share resources on cloud, create personal learning networks. So you can have this as a checklist for you to ensure that your teachers have the enough ICT skills. Okay, so you have ICT conceptual framework here. The activities and student activities should be you should be able to know how these things work. Okay, in order for you to uh, be at par with the current knowledge of your learners in terms of technology. Okay, so Ict Integration Matrix, this is an example, okay, that you can use. Okay, so this is a template that you can use. Okay, so you see here 21st century pedagogy. Okay, so you see there this is an example of a mind map. Okay, this is an example of a mind map. Okay, so here it's not the usual thing outline that we see, but instead we see here a flow. No, it's a visual thing. It's called a mind map. Okay, so lastly, before we end, let's remember the saying of John Dewey, no? That if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, then we rob them of tomorrow. Okay? So take note of that. No, if we don't change the way we teach our learners, and we tend to be stagnant to the way we teach, honestly, Baya, I hope it's only in our division. No, if we look at our teachers really and observe them closely, just test that, test this in yourself. Especially if we do our limited face to face, most of them are still doing it in the traditional way. I cannot blame the researchers when they present those doctoral students and thesis masteral students when they present that they would say that the Department of Education still uses the traditional method because it's what they usually see. But honestly, we are a product of the traditional method. No? Kami ni Doc Nanding, ni Ma'am Jen, kami ni Sir Janilo, we have experienced the stick, no, and the rod type of teaching. But in a sense, I may say it contributed to our success. But honestly, even if it made us successful, but the thing is, the world is changing. The playing field is changing. And the industrial revolution that will be happening, is a drastic change. And this drastic change requires 21st century learners that can learn any skill at command. No? The student who is adept with technology and is flexible enough to love improving and learning. So if that's the case, then we need to also change the way we teach. Because if we don't, we will be robbing them of their future. One of the major characteristic, just to make this really become a good emphasis, no, is that in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, much of the jobs that we'll be having will not be available now. Okay, already. It won't be there anymore. Okay? Much of the jobs that we are preparing now will not be available anymore. So we are preparing for nothing. So we need learners, we need students who love learning more than anything else, because there will be a great divide, a great divide in terms of equity among those who can afford, those who have the skills, and those who do not. Okay, so therefore we need to save our learners from this, and we cannot afford to rob them of their bright future. Let them say that their future is so bright, no, they can't help but close their eyes. That should be the way it is, no, not the other way around. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. That's the second session that we have. We have covered two strands already. Congratulations.